I hope I'm audible to all of you. If there is any issue, please put it across. Anytime, anything which is not clear also, you can please stop me and then get your doubts clarified. What do you think is budget? Be active. We have less time. Okay. Anyone? What is the meaning of budget?
Ma'am, a sum allocated to
Okay.
do a particular task.
Okay. Any other answer? Sum allocated. Okay, it's fine. Anyone else? In simple terms, budget is a plan. It's a financial plan. Plan for the future, even before the period begins. If there is a plan, is there anyone speaking on the mic? Okay. If there is a plan which is prepared even before a period of time, before the period begins, if there is a plan prepared, we refer to that plan. And that plan has to be very specifically in quantitative terms or numerical values. That is referred to as budget. What is the purpose of preparing budget? When budget is prepared, when a plan is there, then it helps in implementing the plan effectively and have a control measure. So let me connect it to one simple example from our day to day life, so then it is much clearer to you. All of you must have used this app called as Google Maps. Whenever we have to go to a new place or new destination, then we take the help of this app, feed the destination place in that app, and then we set out to go to that place. From time to time, we keep looking into Google Map whether we are in the right direction. Sometimes if we take a wrong route, it also suggests what is the way to come back to the right path and then reach the destination, and or how can you come and connect to the correct path and then reach the destination. That is one example you can remember in connection to budgeting. So also in an organization, when the organization is aiming to achieve a target, some plan, some objective has to be achieved, some planning which is taken up to achieve that, the way in which it can be achieved, that plan which is quantified is called as budget. Now, what is the purpose of preparing a plan before the period begins? What is the purpose of it? So at the time of implementing the course of action, from time to time, they can understand whether they're going in the right direction, so that that destination, that objective can be achieved. So it referring to the plan every time when they are taking up any job or any activity. So it helps them to refer back to the plan, so that if they are not going in the right direction, they can take the directions from the plan and then move ahead and then achieve the objective. So that is the basic purpose. So whenever plan is there, control also would be there. So planning is a broader thing. Based on the planning, allocation would be there. The answer which one of the students have given is allocating a sum of amount for a specific purpose. Yes, that is also part of that, but that's only one part of it. It is not the entire budgeting concept. So the budgeting concept is much broader than that. So it talks about the plan which has to be taken up for the future period of time. So when that plan is prepared, when that plan, now plan could be anything. You define that and then write it in your own statement and your own way. I mean, prepare a plan. So can we call that a budget? No, budget has to be very specifically in quantitative terms or in numerical values. So when a budget is there, it helps in implementation. And if at the time of implementation, if there is something not on par with what is planned, control measures can be taken. Now when they understand that things are not going according to plan, control measures can be taken up, so that they compare what they have planned, what is actually implemented. If there is something, if there is a deviation, like if when you are set out to go to a new place, when you have taken a wrong route, it indicates that you have to come back to the right route. Okay. So also when there is a deviation of the actual activity from the planned activity, then it helps them to come back to the right track. Okay, control measures can be taken up. So control, exercising control becomes possible whenever there is a plan. So planning and control go hand in hand. So that is very important here. What is budgeting? Okay, the concept here is not budget, it's a bigger term which is called as budgeting. What is budgeting? Budgeting is the process of preparing budgets. Budgeting is the process of preparing budgets. We call it as budgeting. Okay, so it starts, a budget is a quantitative expression of a plan of action prepared in advance to the period to which it relates. The process of preparing budgets is called as budgeting. And then there are various aspects of this. It starts with the preparation of plans, or it starts with planning. Then when planning is there, then it becomes possible to control the cost, controlling cost. Then on comparison, now the budgeted figures versus the actual figures, the actual activity. So what did they plan, what is their budget versus what is that they have achieved is the actual. So there is a comparison between these two. So when there is a comparison, so there is a possibility for evaluation. How are they performing? Are they performing according to the plan? Performance evaluation, okay, that is also possible. Did they do according to the plan? Did they do better than the plan? Did they not meet uh, the targets or the standards? That can be known. So performance evaluation is also possible. Now, to take decisions to prepare plan, there would be someone appointed, or somebody is authorized to take decisions. Okay, authorization to take decisions and spending the amount. So later on, yes, they also would be evaluated based on their decisions taken, whether they are right, wrong, whether they were able to achieve those targets decided by them. So that also is possible. So authorization of expenditure, so how much should we spend, what are the decisions which have to be taken, that can be assigned to people in the organization. So it helps them to motivate, because when their performance is evaluated, if they are appreciated, they feel motivated. Okay, once a plan is prepared, it would be communicated to everybody in the organization, so everybody understands what is that they have to perform. People working at various levels in the organization, each one of them performing a specific work. So they understand what is their end goal, what is their end target, is what everybody understands. So everybody works towards achievement of the target or the objective. So that communication leads to communication. It would be communicated because plan is prepared and it is communicated. And with the help of this communication, it becomes possible to coordinate all the activities, because each one is taking up a different role, but all of them at the end of the period, all of them are working towards the achievement of the organization's objectives. So that is the end goal. Now, so when a plan is prepared, it helps in better communication and coordination of the activities. So you can learn these things from the study text. Okay, let's not spend a lot of time on this. um,
Ma'am, sorry
yes.
to interrupt you.
Yeah, no
Ma'am,
problem.
who prepares, these budgets?
Who prepares the budget? That's the next slide we are going to look into. Who prepares the budget? There are two ways in which the budgets are prepared. Budgets are prepared if the organization is small in size, or the activities are not centralized. In an organization, we generally see that there is a top management and middle level management and a low level management. So the decision making power always lies with the top management. So we have the top management, the senior executives, then we have the middle level management, and we have the low level management, or the operating level, those who actually implement the plans. The decision making power always lies with the top management. But if there are the organization is not a very big organization with multiple activities, whoever is writing, madam, your name is displayed here, be aware of that. Okay, okay, top level management, middle level management and operating level management. So the decision making power always lies with the top management. If it is a simple structure, if it is simple organization, the plans are prepared by the senior managers or executives or the top management, and that is communicated. But then in certain organizations, when there are multiple activities, complex activities and all, in such a case, it is not possible for the top management to have a thorough understanding about all the aspects of the organization and the activities. So then they allow the other levels of management also to participate in the discussion about the budget. So we see that there is a style of preparing the budget which is participative budgeting. Okay, there is another type. If the senior management prepares, we call it as authoritative style of budgeting. Authoritative style and then participative style, these are two different styles of preparing budgeting. If the top management prepares the budget, okay, it is easy, they take the decision and then it is communicated to everyone, everybody has to follow. It is simple, easy to prepare, easy to communicate, and then it can be implemented. But there are disadvantages with authoritative style as well. So what are the disadvantages here? Now when someone prepares that and communicates to them, the employees may not feel motivated to implement those budgets. They feel that the top management has no idea about what are the difficulties in implementation. So the other two levels of management, middle level and the operating level management, they may feel demotivated. So that is one issue here in case of authoritative style. Therefore the alternative for this one is participative style of budget. The name the name itself says that the participation is seeked from the employees of the organization. The ones who actually implement understand what are the difficulties which arise at the time of implementing the budget. So in that case, they are the ones who can give better opinion about what is possible, what is feasible for them to achieve. So they communicate this to the top level management. Okay, all the levels of management, people from all departments and activities and functions, they come together, they discuss that and then finalize on that. So many rounds of negotiation take place. After that, once there is an approval of that, the approval from the top management is there, then that is communicated to all the people in the organization. So that is how participative style of budget is prepared. Now, when participative style of budget is prepared, yes, the advantage is the employees feel motivated because their opinion is what matters. It is included in the preparation of the plan. So they feel motivated. Okay. There are disadvantages of participative style. Now, what are the disadvantages? The disadvantages is time taking because people have to put in their opinion, then they have to work towards achievement of the those things. Now, at the time of putting in their opinion, it is not possible to come to some consensus. So it is not possible to agree upon a particular thing and then quickly implement. So it is time taking. That is first thing. Okay. Then now we've understood that performance is evaluated. Performance is evaluated is, see, when budget figures are prepared and when actual figures are there, then we see that there is a comparison. What is the standard which has to be achieved and what is that they have achieved is what is looked into. Therefore they become conscious, the employees become conscious, and this a concept called as slack or budget slack, which has to be looked into. What is slack? I'll put it with the help of an example. What is slack? Let's say that maybe Centans is known for organizing events and all. Let's say that a student committee is given the responsibility of organizing an event. Okay, let's put simple figures. Let's say that for an event, the the students are asked to give their quotation about how much would it cost. So I do not know the latest values and all, but then let's take a very simple example. Let's say that the students quote that the the event will cost some 20k, 20,000. Okay, now later on all that would be looked into, whether they have taken the right decision in terms of selecting the right supplier from the right place, they have purchased the material, paid the right charges to various people who are involved in that, or did they take any measures to see that the best price is selected. That is again, see, if there is somebody to supervise that, you take some efforts to cut down the prices, or select the best price, or the have a bargain attitude and cut down the price. If nobody is going to supervise, any price is okay, because it is not I mean, they are not evaluated, so they would not put any effort. Okay, now also then 20,000 is the cost of conducting an event, let's say that. But because they would be evaluated later on, to be on the safer side, okay, if they mention this as 22, because participative style of budget is collecting the opinion from various levels of management. So if they quote a value of 22k, okay, so it would be recorded in the budget as 22,000. But let's say that they have spent only 21,000. So in that case, do you think they are efficient? The student group is efficient?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
They are efficient? Okay, we feel that yes, they are efficient, because budget has a value of 22,000. They have actually spent 21,000. So technically, they are considered as efficient, because as comparison with the budget and the actual ones, the actual amount is less than. But technically, it should be only 20,000. Because they were asked to give their opinion, they have not included 20, but they have included it as 22. So they now technically they are not efficient, because they were supposed to spend only 20 according to whatever are the rates which are prevailed, or whatever are the costs which are supposed to be incurred is only 20, but they have incurred 21. Yet they are considered efficient, because they have mentioned in the budget that it would be 22,000. So that possible, that inefficiency is crept into the, it will creep into the budgets, and it will not be identified. Okay, that danger is there, that we call it as slack. Slack is not being able to, yes.
Ma'am, can you explain again this 22,000 point? I mean,
Yeah.
you
Because
said that,
part is, yeah,
but
part is,
why?
yeah. Please put it. I didn't, yeah, please.
Ma'am, before that, I have a doubt.
Yeah.
But they have said that 20,000, but why they have written 20,000? That
Because
I don't.
this is participative style of budget, everybody's opinion is collected. So the people at the operating level, they mention that it is possible to take up that activity only by spending 22,000, because they are the ones who are operating the activities or implementing the activities. So their opinion is also considered, counted, because it is participative. They are also allowed to participate in the preparation of the budgets. So they've mentioned it to be as 22. But whereas for that particular activity, it requires only 20,000. If you will look into that, with an amount of 20,000 also, that activity can be taken up, that event can be arranged. That is possible. But because now the top management has also invited them to participate and give their opinion was as 22,000, because they are conscious that if at all, if they cannot meet the target, then their performance will be evaluated. So that fear would be there, that danger that they will be evaluated. What if they write it as 20,000? Then they have to be very very careful in cutting down on the cost. But now, even if they are not very careful in cutting down on the cost, they have spent 21,000 also, they're still appreciated, they are rewarded for saving 1,000 as compared to the planned amount.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah. Someone else also was asking a doubt.
Yes, ma'am. I actually wanted to know why do we have to do the participating budgeting, ma'am? Because the top level management has all the funds and they know that the activity is going to be done within 20,000. So why do we have to unnecessarily?
See, they may, the top management always does not have thorough information about what happens at the operating level, because they are at the superior level to take to look at the organization and the related activities. So, the decisions which are to be, let's look at that. In a college, principal looks at the activities of the college. I mean, how the college should be placed or what it is. The major decisions are taken by the principal. Then we have heads of department. Then we have course wise in charges are there. Then class in charges are there. What idea the class in charge has about individually each student, definitely principal will not have, because principal is looking at a broader thing, broader level. Management is taken up by principal madam. So now the class in charge, most of the time they know every individual student by name also. Okay, what is that? So those things, I mean, the information, the knowledge what they have, the principal does not have, because principal is looking at a much bigger picture. So therefore, anything related to one individual student, unless and until the class in charge conveys to the principal, it cannot be implemented. So therefore, we have meetings wherein um, all of them come together and then they discuss about various events. So also in an organization, the top management will definitely not have a perfect idea about what happens at various levels. So if it is 20,000, it is not that they have the information, but it would be 20,000 in normal situations. But because they cannot intricately look into each and every aspect of it, they would want the other levels of management also to participate. So that is the participative style of budget.
Okay, ma'am. But aren't we creating the Slack situation by
This is,
asking
yeah, yeah,
participants?
yeah. This is creation of Slack, yes, but sometimes the organization size is so big with multiple and complex activities that it is definitely not possible for the management, top management, to understand all those things. So then they have to depend on department division wise managers who are appointed, and then their opinion is considered. Now big very big large size business, production unit itself would be very large, maybe multiple products are produced, so product wise, department wise, unit wise. So in that case, having a thorough knowledge about all of them may not be possible, therefore they have to depend on that. So if it is a small size unit, participative style of budget is a waste of time and money also. It is more suitable that they go with authoritative style, because even the top management understands what are the things in the organization. But as the size grows, it is not possible that they can have a better understanding about the intricacies of the organization, within the organization what happens. So then it becomes I mean, it is suited that participative style of budget. A combination of these two things also can be implemented, though they invite opinions from other levels of management. A combination of these two things is also taken up. So ultimate, the overall, the fine, after all these discussions with the people in the organization, ultimate decision will be taken up by the top management. That is also another style, but broadly we talk about authoritative style and participative style.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah. So when they are allowed, invited to participate, it acts as a motivation. Okay. Then when the performance is evaluated, they are also entitled for incentives. So theoretical aspects, you can look into that. We'll proceed further. Okay. How are budgets prepared? For an organization, the mission, the vision, mission is the very basic purpose what the organization wants to achieve. So that is decided. Now, The mission statement is framed, the vision, the direction in which they have to go forward so that they can achieve the organization objectives. Then to achieve those objectives, then what is that they have to take up? What is the course of action? First, the mission is framed, decided, it is published, it's called, when it is published, it's called as a mission statement. So mission is set for an organization. Then they decide on what are the objectives which they want to achieve over a long period of time. So the short term goals and objectives can be achieved in a short period of time, but the long term objectives can be achieved only in the long period of time. So identify what are the objectives. Then to achieve these objectives, what is the course of action which has to be taken up? What is the direction in which they have to move forward? What is their vision? How are they going forward to achieve this is what has to be looked into. Search for alternative courses of action. Okay, gather data about various alternatives, then select the course of action and then implementation. So once the implementation thing comes, implementation at that stage, the comparison starts, the comparison about what was actually planned and what is implemented. So a continuous monitoring takes place at this particular stage, and feedback is given to top management as well as people who are implementing. People who are implementing, when feedback is given to them, they take corrective measures to see that the deviations are corrected. Top management also feedback is given because maybe they are over ambitious at the time of setting the objectives or the strategy or the goals which are decided. They may be very ambitious. Maybe they do not have those possibilities or skill set of the employees, or feasibility is not there. Without considering that, they might have decided their objectives. So if such a thing is there, they also revise their standards, revise their objectives. So that is not a regular feature, but yes, that all possibility is also there, because every now and then if you keep revising the standards, it has no meaning, because after thorough discussion, research, investigation, these the feasibility part of it is looked into, and then budgets or objectives are decided, rather the strategy is decided for the organization. But sometimes when the feasibility is not there, there is a possibility that those standards also can be revised. So that is how budgets are prepared. Now the main part of it, numerical questions, what we have to answer, um, that's based on the functional budgets. At this point of time, you don't have to learn, but then simple explanation I'll give you. The composition of all the budgets which are prepared. Now budgets are prepared before a specific period of time. See, when budgets are now in the long run, they are looking at the long term objectives, but when it comes to the short term, um, very specifically for a specific period of time, then we see they are converted into goals and objectives. Okay, to meet these things, they take the help of the budgets. Budgets are prepared for very long period of time, long, okay, we call them as long term budgets, short term period also, or medium term period also. So based on the time period, we call them as long term budgets, intermediate budgets, and then short term budgets. So these are plans prepared so that according to these plans, the objectives can be achieved.
Ma'am,
Now,
when actually
yeah,
budgets are prepared, I mean, when it is prepared after setting the goal.
once again, I didn't get you.
Ma'am, actually, I want to know when actually the budgets are prepared.
Budget preparation is a continuous process of see, if it is prepared at the beginning of the period, when it is prepared for a very long period of time. Okay, long term budgets. Then for the next 5 years or next 3 years, something what has to be achieved. See, what has to be achieved, let's say if it is for 20 years, it is prepared, they do not wait until 20 years to understand whether they have achieved it or not. So in the very long period of time, so it's prepared at the beginning of, and after the establishment of that. Then for the intermediate budgets also before the period. So every 3 years they prepare budget. So at the beginning of three years period or five years period, whatever they take the period to be as appropriate, they prepare that. Very short period, as short as 1 week also budget is prepared. So just before that 1 week period starts, at the beginning of the period, a budget is prepared. So at the end of 1 week, they understand whether they have achieved it or not. So very short period, a short period of time, intermediate period of time, long period of time, depending on whatever is the purpose, a budget is prepared before that period of time. So let's say that week from Sunday till the next Saturday, if there is a budget which has to be prepared. So before Sunday comes, the plan has to be prepared. So by Saturday, the plan is ready. Okay. So what is the purpose? What is the type of budget which is prepared? For how long it is to be prepared? Considering that before that time period begins, the budget is prepared, because prior to a given period of time, one of the points of budget is a financial plan prepared prior to a given period of time, so that the objectives of the organization can be achieved. So that's the meaning of budget. So before the period begins, so whatever is the purpose, based on the purpose, the budget is prepared before that time period.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, so the composite there are various budgets which are prepared. So one budget, one plan, one budget may not serve the purpose, because there are multiple functions in an organization. There are functions, there are activities, different purposes for which the budgets are prepared. So in that case, with one budget, one plan, it may not be sufficient. So they have to prepare multiple budgets. So technically, how do we classify them, is the composition of all the budgets put together, we call that as master budget. At this point of time, your syllabus is also not covering these terms, but if you happen to refer to some book, your library is one big treasure there in St. Anne's College. So anytime when you get to a chance to refer to any of these cost accounting, management accounting textbooks, you see these concepts. So the composition of all the budgets is called as master budget. Master budget looks into operating budgets and then financial budget. So here, according to your paper and your syllabus, they are only specifically given as functional budgets. So the first one under the functional budgets, what are the functions of business? The functions of business are, can I have a list of the what are the functions of business?
Production.
Production.
Earn profits.
That is the objective. I'm asking about the functions. Yes, earning profit is the objective of the business. Maximization of profit is the objective.
Marketing.
Purchase and sale of
Yeah, that's right.
Production.
Production, marketing, administration, selling and distribution. Okay, these are the functions of the business. Based on the functions of business, when budgets are prepared, we call them as functional budgets. Okay, so based on the various functions, so these functional budgets, okay, condensed format is given here. So this is what you have to learn about it. So when budgets have to be prepared, the first budget under the operating budget, the first one which has to be prepared is sales budget. So what is their objective? So someone has answered as earning profit. So earning profit, maximizing profit, earning a particular profit margin, making a profit margin, that is their objective. To achieve that objective, so how can they achieve their objective? Only by generating revenue. When revenue is generated, then they can realize the profit and profit can be maximized. So the first step, what they start is to achieve that objective, how many number of units have to be sold. Sales budget is the first budget which is prepared. What is the equation of sales? Sales is the number of units sold into the selling price per unit. As simple as that. Number of units sold into selling price. Only two variables are there. So we have sales is equal to the number of units into, if they can plan as to how many number of units are to be sold, at what price, will they be able to generate some amount of revenue and make a profit. Okay, objective is the first thing which is decided.
Yes, ma'am.
See, first they have their objectives which are defined. They have their objectives here. So once the objectives are defined, then they take up whatever are the courses of action. So what is the next course of action is what they would look into. So to achieve that objective, the first thing what they have to plan is what is sales. So sales is the number of units sold into the selling price per unit. So sales is equal to, so they have to only estimate how many number of units have to be sold and at what price they have to be sold. If these two variables are known, then it becomes possible for them to generate this revenue. But if they have to sell this many number of units, then they should be readily available to sell these units. So to be available to sell these units, immediately what they have to look into is they have to plan for the production. Unless and until it is produced, it is not possible that they can sell. So this sales budget will give rise to the preparation of production budget. So production budget, how do we understand what is production budget? I'll try to explain it with your trading account, what you are aware of. You're aware of trading account?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So what do we have in trading account? What do we have on the left side, right side?
Opening stock,
Debit side, opening stock is there. Yes. Opening
purchases,
stock. Then we have purchases.
purchase returns,
Okay.
minus.
Yeah. Then we have a list of expenses like wages are paid, factory rent, etc. So there's so many things which are incurred. On the credit side, we have first thing is
Sales.
we have sales, and there is an adjustment of closing stock.
Closing stock.
Yeah. So
Closing stock.
these are the things. A simple terms if we put it across. Now the values we write here. What is the opening stock worth is what we write, and the value, the cost of purchases, and other things we recorded. For a minute, let's put them in terms of number of units. So all these expenses which are the production to produce the units, the production units, if we convert them into units, so how does it look like? Opening stock units plus produced units, this is equal to sales units plus the closing stock units. That is what we would have if we convert it into the number of units. Now, if we have to understand what are the produced units, production is equal to, simple terms, if we you can always take the help of this particular T form of shape for you to remember the equation. The number of units to be produced is equal to, okay, we have the equation is opening stock plus units produced is equal to sales plus closing stock. So production produced units are on the other side. We have the sales we have sales plus the closing stock, and opening stock comes to the other side, it becomes minus opening stock. So this is the logic which you have to remember, and remember it very well. If you forget, if you happen to forget in the examination, just draw one T shape and then list out what is there, and then you can arrive at what is the answer. So the next step is what is to be prepared is the production budget. We'll go back to the PPT. So the number of units to be produced, the first thing is sales budget is prepared, and sales budget gives with the help of sales budget we get to prepare what is the production budget. So production budget in simple terms, how do we remember? Production units is equal to the units which are sold, sales plus the closing stock minus the opening stock. But production cannot happen just like that because the resources are needed to produce the product.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
after producing only will, after after having decided only we'll have the closing stock, no, ma'am.
What is it about the closing stock? Let's look into that because you've raised the issue. Generally, now to meet this number of units of sales, if this is produced is sufficient. But why are we having this concept of closing stock? If let's say that if they have planned to sell 10,000 units, they generally do not produce only 10,000 units, but definitely more than 10,000 units. This additional, for example's sake, let's say that they have planned on taking up 12,000 units of production. Why would they produce more than that? That acts like a cushion. What in case if there is an unexpected demand arising? They are anticipating that they would be able to sell 10,000 units in future. So to sell 10,000 units, now they have to take up the production. So if they produce exactly 10,000, and what in future if there is a additional demand arising, to meet the demand they will not have the products available. Therefore, always it is that more number of units are produced than what can be sold in future. So that acts like a cushion, right?
Ma'am, but aren't sales made keeping in mind the demand and supply?
These how that again is dependent on another aspect. Now when we are stating that the number of units and into the selling price. Okay, number of units into selling price. Now, based on this, but how do they understand what is how many units they would be able to sell? So that again is a big question. So that for that reason, they depend on the forecasting techniques. They take the help of forecasting, prediction, the ways in which prediction is taken up, forecasting prediction. Based on that, the number of units are decided. But future is uncertain. So what is planned for the future, it is not necessary that exactly the same thing would happen in future. It may be more than that which can happen, or less than that also is a possibility. Future, the very basic thing that future is uncertain, gives that scope to keep additional stock available. What if in case some additional demand arises? Suddenly, let's say that a competitor has shut down. So he is not providing any material. So the customers of that competitor also will come to this business. So then they should be, these are certain examples what we are quoting here. Okay, definitely they depend on the prediction, but because future is uncertain, it is not possible that very precisely they can predict the future. That reason. So this is what is they would be producing, sales plus closing stock. And if additional amount, if that additional units are not sold in the current period, they would be carried forward to the next period as opening stock. So because this is what they are planning to produce and they already have this stock available, apart from this, deducting this, whatever is the balance, then that would be taken up as the production. Okay, did I address your query?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, so the next step is production. So to produce that, the resources are needed. Production happens only by using the input so that the output can be generated. Output is the production. But to have that output, they require certain inputs. Inputs like the inputs are the material, the labor, these are the inputs, and the overheads. Okay, there are three elements of cost: the material cost, the labor cost, and the expenses. So all of them, when we subclassify them based on their identifiability. We can classify them as direct and indirect. So direct material, direct labor, direct expenses added together, we call it as prime cost. All those things which are not identified with the cost object, we call them as overheads. Some other time we can discuss about what is the meaning of overheads. Okay. So these are the resources which are needed with the help of material, labor, and overheads. Then they have to take up the production. So production cannot happen just like that. Only when they use material, they use the services of labor, and they take up the overhead. So based on this, the production work can be taken up. So specifically, we also have to prepare a material budget, material labor budget, and then overhead budget. So those are the next functional budgets. Going on par with the production, we also have the material. So material has to be purchased. So material, when material is purchased, material is also purchased more than what is required for production, with the same concept that if they take up additional production, material should be available. So the same logic is used here for material. There are three different types of inventory. One is in the raw form. One is it in the semi-finished form, what we call it as work in progress. Then we have it as finished form. Finished goods are the number of units which are produced. But to produce this, we require raw material. So raw material is also purchased more than what can be sold. Okay, what can be produced. So here the equation will be the number of units produced plus the closing stock of raw material. Okay, closing stock. This is closing stock of finished goods. This is closing stock of raw material minus opening stock of raw material. So this is the material which is purchased. There is something else also here which is as usage. To produce this number of units, how much material is consumed. Let's say that to make one table, they require 5 logs of wood. So how much wood is required, or to make one particular product, 5 units of raw material is needed. So usage part of it is measured. Then for this, if this is the usage, how much would be purchased? That's the next step, purchase. So how much would be purchased is the material purchase budget will be the number of units to be produced plus the closing stock of raw material minus the opening stock of raw material. That is material purchase budget. Then labor budget is quite simple.
Ma'am,
It
can
is
you repeat again the material purchase budget?
um, if this is the usage, how much for example, if there is 1 unit of finished product which is produced, for that the raw material requirement usage part of it is 5 units. So 1 into 5 will be 5 units. So first the usage, the requirement has to be assessed. After the requirement, if this is the requirement, how much should be purchased? Requirement is 5 units for every single unit of the finished product. So as many number of units they are planning to produce into the requirement. So once the requirement is assessed, requirement is the required material for the production. Required material for the production plus additional material also they would purchase. That's the closing stock of raw material minus the opening stock of raw material. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Then labor budget is very simple. For the number of labor hours, like we have sales is equal to units into selling price, we just have the number of labor hours which are used by the workers, labor hours into the rate which is paid per worker. Okay, rate per unit. That is the way in which labor budget is prepared. But only one thing what we have to be particular is we need to understand that what are all the workers are on par. Not all workers are on par. There are categories of workers, that is skilled worker, semi-skilled worker, and unskilled worker. So they are paid at different rates. Skilled workers definitely would be paid at a higher price, semi-skilled and then unskilled. So according to that, so first we have to categorize the number of hours based on whether they belong to skilled category, unskilled category, and semi-skilled category. So each one of them, the number of hours required and what is the rate which is applicable, multiply that and then total it up. That is how labor budget is prepared. Overheads budget, while we are doing the questions, I will take you through the explanation as well, because the meaning of overhead is a cost which is not identified with a cost object. So if we are talking about um, let's say that for a piece of furniture, if piece of furniture or table very specifically, because I already quoted table. So table, if one table has to be made, what is the type of material which are needed is wood is needed. Okay, those small screws and bolts and nuts are needed. Fevicol, glue, varnish, paint, these things are also needed. So with one piece of a table, okay, how much wood will be required, or what is the cost of wood required can be estimated. But what is the cost of glue, varnish, paint with one table, can it be estimated? It cannot be estimated, because one big box of these things are purchased, and out of that small quantity is used to varnish the table or paint the table or something. So that identifiability is missing with two different types of material. One type of material, identifiability is there. Another type of material, identifiability is not there. So any cost with which is not identified with cost object, we call those costs as overhead costs. Okay, cost object could be anything. Here we have taken as number of units. It could be with department, division, any activity, function, product, service, anything could be cost object. If identifiability is there, we call it as direct cost. The sum total of all direct cost is called as prime cost. If identifiability is missing, we call it as overhead cost. Okay, am I clear? So
Yes.
when the identifiability is missing, how do we prepare the budget? We will look into when we come to that particular point. When we are touching on the numericals, then at that time we will look into that. This is IFE class. Is this IFE class?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
ACCA, integrated with ACCA.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, done. Okay. So these, the ones which we've discussed just now, the functional budgets are operational budgets. Another classification, when I at the beginning mentioned that the composition of all the budgets together is called as master budget. Under master budget we have two different categories. One is operational budgets. What we have discussed is operational budgets. There are more budgets also under that category, but at this point of time that is sufficient for you. Then another category of budgets under master budget is finance budgets. Under finance budgets, we have cash budget, capital budget, and something else is there. Okay, how do we prepare a cash budget is what we will learn it little later. So there are other types of budgets. What's the time? 10:46. Okay, we will first work out a few questions today, and then if time permits we'll come back to the PPT to do look into what is fixed budget, flexible budget, and budget variances. Okay, um, there is a exam kit which is I think you would be provided with the examination kit, as far as my knowledge goes. By now
Yes, ma'am.
you must have
Yes,
received
ma'am.
it. Okay, done. So if it is there with you, we will work out questions from this examination kit. All of you be ready with your notebook and pen. Okay, I don't have so much time that I can take you through all the multiple choice questions. The numerical questions only will touch upon. Okay. So this is question number, I think the new material has a different number. What's the number in your material? It is 278 only, I think. So there is a question here. The questions which have numerical part of it, we will work out in today's class. The others you can, I think, go through that and then you can also learn on your own. Um, Time is a constraint. So because I still have to do standard costing tomorrow, I am only touching upon the numerical questions. So 278, I think you were able to see the question on the screen. Question number
Yes,
278. Yeah.
Yes,
So I'll work out this in Excel. So the same question we will work it out in Excel. At the end of the class, I will also send the Excel file to you, so you can have it for your reference sake. The question says, a business is preparing its production budget for the year ahead for product A 998. It is estimated that 100,000 units of A 998 can be sold in the year, and the opening inventory is currently 14,000 units. The inventory level is to be reduced by 40% by the end of the year. How many units of A 998 should be produced? So I'm putting it to an Excel sheet. Okay, let's first understand. It is estimated that 100,000 units can be sold. So the number of units to be sold are 100,000. The opening inventory is currently 14,000. The inventory level is to be reduced by 40% by the end of the year. So what's the equation? Please help me out with the equation. Any one of you?
40% of 14,000.
sales plus closing stock minus.
That's right. That's right. That's the equation. Sales plus closing stock minus opening stock. Done. We are preparing number of units to be produced. Okay. So out of these three variables, do we have all the three variables that we can put it? We have sales, we have opening stock, but we do not have the closing stock. Yeah. What happened? Someone wants to say something?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Do we have all the three variables? We have sales, we have the
No,
opening stock, we do not have the closing stock. What is mentioned? It says that the inventory level is to be reduced by 40%. So what closing stock which was prepared last period has come to this period as opening stock, but they do not want to maintain the same level. They want to have it at a reduced level, reduced by 40%. So 60% of what was the closing stock last year, they want to maintain it as the closing stock this year. I hope I got it. You got it?
Can you repeat once again?
Yes. See, the last year closing stock comes to this period as opening stock. So that's 14,000. So last year they have maintained closing stock of 14,000. Last year they maintained closing stock of 14,000. Last period's closing stock comes to this period as opening stock. So would they maintain the same closing stock this period as well? That is the question. So now they don't want to maintain that same level, but they want to reduce it by 40%. So only 60% of it they want. If last year's stock level is 100%, minus 40% is 60%. So only 60% of what was the level of stock last period is the closing stock this period. That is the meaning of it. So the number of units sold are 100, planned to be sold are 100,000. plus the closing stock part of it. Take the last year's closing stock, which is opening stock, into, they just want to maintain 60%. 60% is 6.6. 60% of it minus the opening stock is 14,000. Check that quickly.
8,400.
8,400.
No, ma'am. Closing stock is 8,400.
Okay.
Yeah, I meant the closing
Okay,
stock.
okay,
ma'am, I'm
okay,
sorry.
no problem. So
88,240.
88,240 units. Done. I hope everyone got it.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Then question number 282. In between these two, we have multiple choice questions. So I'm not touching upon those things. So you also can prepare. This is 279.
Ma'am, just a minute. Ma'am, once
Yes.
can you show the sum? One lakh. Ma'am, I think it's 94,400.
Yes, ma'am, it is 94,000.
94,400.
Let's look into this 100,000. This is equal to 14,000 into 0.6. And the other one is minus 14,000. 94,400.
Yes, ma'am.
That 94,400. Question number 282. A company has a budget for two products A and B as follows. We have sales, the production of product A and B given. Labor, skilled labor, unskilled labor. The requirement of hours are 2 hours of for product A, 2 hours of skilled labor, then 3 hours of unskilled labor. For product A, if we are looking at product A, they require 2 hours of skilled labor, 2 hours of unskilled labor. The rates are different. We see that the rates are at $10 per hour and $7 per hour. For product B also similarly, we see the requirement of skilled labor and the requirement of unskilled labor. The number of hours are also mentioned. So I told you that it is very simple labor budget. We just have to take the number of hours required into the rate per hour. So labor budget, let's start together. This is for 282, question number 282. Product A, then we have product B.
Ma'am, no need to take considering the sales and production units, right? Only we require the rate and number of hours.
We need only rate and number of hours.
Yeah, no need for, considering the sales and production units. No need of considering that.
See, what is the budgeted cost? Budgeted cost for the entire production. Okay, so the production is given to us as 1,750 and 5,000. So for producing that many number of units, how much is the budgeted cost is what we have to calculate. It is not only per unit, because the total budgeted cost is what we have to calculate. Sales is an irrelevant data. Yes, the number of units sold is not relevant, but how many units are produced to see one unit, they require 2 hours per unit, but for all the number of units, 1,750 units, how many hours are required? That is important there. Okay, So production is sales is irrelevant, as you have mentioned. Yes, sales is irrelevant, but production is needed. Production in units is 1,750 and 5,000 here. They are asking very specifically only unskilled, not skilled. So if they ask the total cost, you also have to prepare the way we are preparing unskilled. So under unskilled, let's put it as the hours per unit. How many hours are required? It requires 2 hours, 3 hours and 4 hours. Then we have rate per hour. Rate per hour is given as
$7.
just multiply budgeted cost. Budgeted cost would be 1,750 into number of hours into rate per hour.
36,750.
Okay. This is total. Total cost is 176,750. That's the total cost. Okay, let's go to the next one. Question number 284, which is given here. A company makes two products, X and Y, which are sold in the ratio of 1:2. The selling prices are $50 and $100 respectively. The company wants to earn 100,000 over the next period. What should the sales budget be? Okay, we are asked to prepare sales budget. There are 4 products, A, B, C, D. The number of units are also mentioned. Now we have to prepare the sales budget.
Ma'am, there are only 2 products, right?
Yeah. There are only 2 products. I'm really sorry. There are only 2 products. There are 4 options, A, B, C, D. Which of the options is correct? I'm really sorry. There are 2 products, X and Y. Okay. Sales budget. Let's prepare sales budget. The question is, what should the sales budget be? What did we learn about the sales budget? How is sales budget prepared?
Units into sales
Number of
price.
units sold into sales price.
Okay. Number of units sold into sales price. Fine. One more important point what is mentioned is the company wants to earn 100,000 over the next period. Okay, so they want to their total sales value, sales is equal to number of units into selling price is equal to sales. So that final, by selling both the products X and Y, by selling both the products X and Y, the total revenue generated, they want to generate a revenue of 100,000. But how many units of X and how many units of Y is not known. That is what we have to find out. Technically, the equation of sales is equal to, we have sales is equal to units into selling price per unit. The selling price per unit for X and Y, we have the rates are given, the selling prices are given as 50 and 100. So those things are known. But how many units of X and how many units of Y should be sold in order to have a total amount of sales as 100,000? That is the question, right? But there is one more important information which is mentioned is the proportion in which the units sold should be as
1:2.
1 is.
1:2.
Anyone has any clue as to how we proceed further? Total sales is equal to 100,000. Yes.
400 and 800.
Okay.
One.
How? 400. 1 is 2. Okay. Okay. How do we put it across 400 and 800?
Ma'am, I didn't get the question.
Maybe we have to multiply.
See, the equation of total sales is equal to number of units into selling price per unit, that they want to have it as a value of 100,000. So how many units of X sold, how many units of Y sold is not given. So some number of units and some number of units of X and some number of units of Y, when they are sold at 50 and at 100, the total should be equal to 100,000. So that is what is mentioned to us. There are two products, X and Y. Some X product number of units are sold, Y product some number of units are sold. X is sold at $50, Y is sold at $100. That's the only information what we have. So when these units are sold, they should generate a revenue of 100,000. That is the point. There's one more important point which is given as any number of units which are sold. So those units, fine, should be sold in the proportion of 1:2. So if X is sold as 1 unit, Y should be sold as 2 units. 1 unit of X when it is sold, 2 units of Y will be sold. So that is one more hint which is given to us. So the total should come up to 100,000. So the number of,
Option D, no, ma'am. 4 is to 800. It becomes 1:2.
So you've gone selecting the option.
Yes, ma'am. If we multiply 400 into 50, we get 20,000. Then 800 into 100, it becomes 80,000. So total is 1 lakh.
Okay.
100 and yeah.
Okay, because the options are given like this, so we are selecting. But any concrete logic behind? See, this is a time-taking process. You have to verify with every option here randomly. When you are looking into that, it helps you to. But there must be some logic in which this is solved. See, let's say that number of units of X sold is equal to, let's put it as 1X. Number of units of Y sold, or we'll put it as 1S. Or we can go ahead. Number of units of Y sold. Let's put it as 2Y, because 2 units. Okay. So 1X plus 2Y, the total of 1X and 2Y would become one lot of material sold. Okay. Let's put it as 1X plus 2Y is equal to 1 batch. Okay, one lot of material. So how many lots of material are produced here, are sold here? 1 second. Okay. Okay, so there's one batch of material. Now they can be sold at 50 and 100. So 1x can be sold as the first batch of material can generate a revenue of is equal to 50 plus 100 is what can be generated. So one batch can generate a revenue of 100. Sorry.
Ma'am, we're saying 2y, so shouldn't it be 200, 250?
Yeah, it's 250 only. Okay. Um, 50 plus 2 into 100, 250. So the total revenue which is generated from one batch of units which are sold is 250. The total revenue which they are looking at is 100,000. The total revenue which is they are looking at as 100,000. So number of batches, let's find out what are the number of batches. Number of batches is equal to 100,000 divided by 250.
400.
So how many batches of material can? So that will give us as 400 batches. Okay, done. If 400 batches of material are sold, now here we have to find out how many of them are for X and how many of them are for Y. 400 batches will have how many units of X? X is only one
So
lot.
400 plus
Y will be two lots. Okay. So X
800.
will be, hence X will be only 400 units
2
and,
fours are 8, 800 units. By
and Y will be 800. Okay. Question number 285. I think we will have time to take up only one more question. There are many questions which have to be answered. Maybe we will work it out tomorrow in tomorrow's class. If needed, maybe some other time also we can meet together. 285, question number 285. A business is preparing its production budget, material usage, and materials purchases budget for the forthcoming period. The following information is known: budgeted sales, current inventory of finished goods, required closing inventory of finished goods. Then each unit of the product uses 6 kgs of material X, and details of this are as follows. Current inventory of X is 2000, required closing inventory of X is 2600 kgs. What is the production volume required for the forthcoming period to meet the sales demand? This is question number 285. We are asked to prepare the production volume budget. How many units of production should be taken up? So to prepare the production budget, what's the equation? Do we know what is
Sales
the
plus
budget?
opening
Sales.
minus closing.
Same side it should be, no? Sales and closing stock are on the same side. So those things have to be added. Sales plus closing stock.
Minus.
Sales plus
Yeah,
closing stock
minus
minus
opening.
opening stock.
So work it out. Work it out and then tell me what's the answer.
2450, ma'am.
As simple as that. Okay. Production is equal to 2300 plus 550 minus 400. So how much did you say?
2450.
2450 units. Okay, this we cannot take it up now. Time will not be sufficient. We've almost come to the end of it. Any doubts in what we have done in today's class?
No, ma'am.
Any class rep, anyone who's there, so that I can.
Ma'am, can you show the problem?
Which one? Number?
Yes, ma'am.
Which number? Which question?
Ma'am, the recent one.
The recent one. Recent one is here. Yeah.
Ma'am, the problem is not finished yet, no, ma'am.
You mean to say that additional information is there?
Yes, ma'am.
But the question is, of course, there is additional information which becomes irrelevant because the question is asked only for the production volume. Had it been to find out the number of units of material purchased, then we go further and then take these things also. After we find out 2,450 units, then if at all, if we have to take up the purchases budget, then maybe because you've asked, we'll take it up. But the answer is only this much. If we have to do the purchases budget, because information is there, it is possible for us to prepare, but that's not what is asked in the question. So if we have to prepare purchases budget, purchases is equal to production units required for production plus the closing stock of raw material minus the opening the 2,450 units are to be produced, that's fine, but each unit requires 6 kgs of material, which is given here. Each unit of production uses 6 kgs of material. So 2,450 into 6 is the requirement of material for the production, plus the closing stock. Closing stock is given in kgs only. Okay, current required closing stock is 2,600. Okay, minus the opening inventory is 2,000 kgs. Check that. What's the answer?
Fifteen thousand three hundred.
15,300.
Okay, so that is how we work it out if it is production purchases budget.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, so whatever you said, okay, it's not showing.
15,300.
300.
Okay, see you tomorrow at the same time.
Thank you,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Can we leave the meet, ma'am?
Yes, you can leave the meet. I'm in fact ending the session. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.